Good morning everyone. Basa na ng Bible guys. Bilis na at work na tayo. Luke chapter 4 verse 1 to 30. And Judges chapter 1, 2, and 3. Dito na muna tayo sa Luke chapter 4. Basa. Satan tempts Jesus in the wilderness. Nabasa na rin natin to sa Matthew. And Jesus, full of the Holy Spirit, returned from the Jordan and was led by the Spirit in the desert, where for 40 days he was tempted by the devil. He ate nothing during those days, and at the end of them he was hungry. The devil said to him, "If you are the Son of God, tell this stone to become bread." Jesus answered, "It is written, man does not live on bread alone." The devil led him up to the high place and showed him in an instant all the kingdoms of the world. And he said to him, "I will give you all their authority and splendor, for it has been given to me, and I can give it to anyone I want to. So if you worship me, it will always be yours." Jesus answered, "It is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only." The devil led him to Jerusalem and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. "If you are the Son of God," he said, "throw yourself down from here, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you to guard you carefully. They will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone." Jesus answered, "It says, do not put the Lord your God to the test." When the devil had finished all this tempting, he left him until an opportune time. Jesus' ministry in Galilee. Jesus preaches in Galilee. Jesus returned to Galilee, chapter 14, verse 14 guys. Jesus returned to Galilee in the power of the Spirit, and news about him spread through the whole countryside. He taught in their synagogues, and everyone praised him. Jesus is rejected at Nazareth. He went to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and on the Sabbath day he went into the synagogue, as was his custom, and he stood up to read. The scroll of the prophet Isaiah was handed to him, and rolling it, he found the place where it is written, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me." Ayon kay prophet Isaiah na scroll. So, si prophet Isaiah nagsabi nito, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to release the oppressed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." Then he rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. The eyes of everyone in the synagogue were fastened on him, and he began by saying to them, "Today the scriptures is fulfilled in your hearing." All spoke well of him and were amazed at the gracious words that came from his lips. "Isn't this Joseph's son?" they asked. Jesus said to them, "Surely you will quote this proverb to me, 'Physician, heal yourself.'" Wait lang. Saan na tayo? Jesus said to them, "Surely you will quote this proverb to me, 'Physician, heal yourself.' Do here in your hometown what we have heard, what you did, what we have heard that you did in Capernaum." Ay, nawawala ako parati. Verse 24. I tell you the truth, he continued, no prophet is accepted in his hometown. I assure you that there were many widows in Israel in Elijah's time, when the sky was shut for 3.5 years, and there was severe famine throughout the land. Yet Elijah was not sent of any of them, but to a widow in Zarephath, in the region of Sidon. And there were many in Israel with leprosy in the time of Elisha the prophet, yet no one of them was cleansed, only Naaman the Syrian. All the people in the synagogue were furious when they heard this. They got up, drove him out of the town, and took him to the brow of the hill on which the town was built, in order to throw him down the cliff. But he walked right through the crowd and went on his way. Okay, hanggang dyan lang. Pero, naalala yung nabasa natin sa, Deuteronomy ba yun? O, basta Deuteronomy yata yung katapusan. After namatay si Moses, wala nang ibang prophet na makahigit pa kay Moses. Pagdating sa mga mga signs and miracles at yung pagkausap ni Joseph kay Father God ng face to face, wala makakahigit. Nag-iisa lang si Moses sa mga Israelites. Basta si Moses ang pinakamagaling na prophet. Dito na tayo sa Judges. Ano ba? 1, 2, 3 ba yun? Hulog na naman. Ay, nako. Yung ibang lagi nahulog pero buhay pa rin. Judges 1, 2, 3. Excuse me. From March 27, 2021. Ang haba. Ilang page? 1, 2, 4 guys. Pero ang dami kasing footnotes. Hindi ko naman binabasa yung footnotes na yan. Incomplete conquest of the land. Incomplete pa pala yung gera na yun guys. Grabe. Israel fights the remaining Canaanites. After the death of Joshua the Israelite asked the Lord, who will be the first to go out and fight for us against the Canaanites? The Lord answered, Judah is to go. I have given the land into their hands. Then the men of Judah said to the Simeonites, their brothers, come up with us into the territory allotted to us, to fight against the Canaanites. We in turn will go with you into yours. So the Simeonites went with them. When Judah attacked, the Lord gave the Canaanites and Perizzites into their hands, and they struck down 10,000 men of at Besek. Bira mo yan guys. 10,000 tao papatayin para lang mapunta sa kanila yung lupa. Ten thousand men of Besek. It was there that they found Adonai-Besek and fought against him, plotting to rout the Canaanites and Perizzites. Adonai-Besek fled, but they chased him and caught him and cut off his thumbs and big toes. Pero mo, to torture pa Inano yung pinutol yung thumbs, saka yung Hintutur, ay ano, big toes. Then Adonibus succeeded 70 kings with their thumbs and big toes cut off have picked up scraps under my table. Huh? Now God has paid me back. Oh, bad ka pala eh. Bad pala si Adonibus eh. Pero mga 70 kings pala yung pinutulan niya rin ng ano, thumbs tsaka big toes. Ang dami nun. Now God has paid me back for what I did to them. They brought him to Jerusalem and he died there. Naniniwala siya na ganti na ng Diyos sa kanya yun. The men of Judah attacked Jerusalem also and took it. They put the city to the sword and set it on fire. Oh. After that, the men of Judah went down. So before pa sila Israel, marami ng kings na doon sa Canaanites na to tsaka Jerusalem. The men of Judah attacked Jerusalem also and took it. They put the city to the sword and set it on fire. Grabe na. Siguro ang gulo-gulo talaga nung araw. Nung nagkangkam ng lupa itong mga Israel. After that, the men of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites living in the hill country, the Negev and western foothills. They advanced against the Canaanites living in Hebron, formerly called Kiryat Arba, and defeated Shishai, Ahiman, and Talmai. From there they advanced against the people living in Debir, formerly called Kiryat Zepher, and Caleb said, I will give my daughter Aksa in marriage to the man who attacks and captures Kiryat Zepher. Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it, so Caleb gave his daughter as Aksa to him in marriage. Wait lang, inom ulit tayo tubig. Ayaw mabuksan. Dito na tayo sa verse 12. And Caleb said, I will give my daughter Aksa in marriage to the man who attacks and captures Kiryat Zepher. Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it, so Caleb gave his daughter Aksa to him in marriage. Tingnan mo guys. Dito sa verse 12, and Caleb said, I will give my daughter Aksa in marriage to the man who attacks and captures Kiryat Zepher. Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. So, ibig sabihin, si Othniel tsaka yung anak ni Caleb is magpinsan. Kita mo guys, magkamag-anak ulit nag-aasawa. First cousin yan, no? Caleb's younger brother took it, so Caleb gave his daughter Aksa to him in marriage. One day when she came to Othniel, she urged him to ask her father for a field. When she got off her donkey, Caleb asked her, What can I do for you? She replied, Do me a special favor, since you have given me land in the Negev, give me also springs of water Then Caleb gave her the upper and lower springs. The descendants of Moses' father-in-law, the Kenite, went up. The descendants of Moses' father-in-law, the Kenite, went up from the city of palms with the men of Judah to live among the people of the desert of Judah in the Negev near Arad. Then the men of Judah went with the Simeonites, their brothers, and attacked the Canaanites living in Sephath. And they totally destroyed the city, therefore it was called Hormah. The men of Judah also took Gaza, Askelon, and Ekron, its city with its territory. The Lord was with the men of Judah. They took possession of the hill country, but they were unable to drive the people from the plains because they had iron chariots. As Moses had promised, Hebron was given to Caleb, who drove from it the three sons of Anath. The Benjamites, however, fell to dislodge the Jebusites who were living in Jerusalem. To this day, the Jebusites live there with the Benjamites. So, paano yan pagkuhanin ng Benjamites ulit yung Jerusalem? Hindi, tanong lang yun. Now, the house of Joseph attacked. Sa generation ba natin guys, pag nabasa nila to, pero syempre alam na nila yung history nila to eh, diba? Now, the house of Joseph attacked Bethel, and the Lord was with them when they sent men to spy out Bethel, formerly called Luz. The spies saw a man coming out of the city, and they said to him, "Show us how to get into the city, and we will see that you are treated well." So he showed them, and they put the city to the sword, but spared the man and his whole family. O, parang si ano ba? Ano ba yung pangalan ng prostitute? Si Reba ba yun? In-spare din yung buong pamilya. Pero, ano naman to? Parang alam mo yung mag-betray ka sa nation mo para lang maligtas ka. He then went to the land of the Hittites. Diba? Reaction lang ulit yun. Ay, nako. Against talaga ako sa gira-gira na to dahil lang sa lupa. He then went to the land of the Hittites, where he built a city and called it Luz, which is its name to this day. Luz. But Manasseh did not drive out the people of Bethshan, or Tanakh, or Do, or Eblim, or Megiddo, and their surrounding settlements, for the Canaanites were determined to live in the land. When Israel became strong, they pressed the Canaanites into forced labor, but never drove them out completely. Nor did Abraham drive out the Canaanites living in Gezer, but the Canaanites continued to live there among them. Neither did Zebulun drive out the Canaanites living in Kitron or Nahalol. Pero mo no, sakit-sakit sa Canaanites yan. Dati na kayo dun, tapos bigla kayong aagawan ng lupa. Living in Kitron or Nahalol, who remained among them, but they did subject them forced labor. Nor did Asher drive out those living in Akko, or Sidon, or Alab, or Aksib. Ang hihirap ng guys, ng lugar. Or Helba, or Apik, or Rehob. And because of these people of Asher live among the Canaanite inhabitants of the land, neither did Naphtali drive out those living in Beth Shemesh or Beth Anath, but the Naphtalites to live among the Canaanite inhabitants of the land, and those living in Beth Shemesh and Beth Anath became forced laborers for them. The Amorites confined the Danites to the hill country, not allowing them to come down into the plain, and the Amorites into the plain. And the Amorites were determined also to hold out in the Mount Heres, Aijalon, and Shelbim. But when the power of the house of yung dyan ko, umaangal na. Hinto na raw tayo. Joseph increased the tower priest into forced labor. The boundary of the Amorites was from Scorpion past to Zillah and beyond. Melissa na guys. The angel of the Lord at Bochim. The angel of the Lord went from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I brought you up out of the Egypt and lead you into the land that I swore to give you to your forefathers. I said, I will never break my covenant with you, and you shall not make a covenant with the people of this land, but you shall break down their altars, yet you have disobeyed me. Why have you done this? Now therefore, kasi patay na si Moses tsaka si Joshua, so sila na lang nag-ano. Kumbaga sa ano, wala na silang pinaka-leader talaga. Now therefore, I tell you that I will not drive them out before you. There will be the thorns in your side, and your gods will be near to you. When the angel of the Lord has spoken these things to all the Israelites, the people wept aloud, and they called the place Bochim. Diba dati, si Father God mismo nakikipag-usap kay Moses. Ngayon, angel na lang nakikipag-usap sa mga Israelites. People wept aloud, and they called the place Bochim. There they offered sacrifices to the Lord. Disobedience and defeat. After Joshua had dismissed the Israelites, they went to take possession of the land. Namatay na nga si Joshua doon sa diba? Doon sa basa nating pinakahuli ng Joshua. Judges na ito eh. Diba namatay na nga siya? After Joshua had dismissed the Israelites, buhay na naman ulit si Joshua. Ano ba? Ay, naku po. After Joshua had dismissed the Israelites, they went to take possession of the land each to his own. Ilang taon ba si Joshua namatay dito? Binalikan talaga. $110 old. Sa ano? Sa Joshua chapter 24 verse 28. Disobedience and defeat. After Joshua had dismissed, sa chapter 2 na tayo guys, sa verse 6. After Joshua had dismissed the Israelites, they went to take possession of the land, each to his own inheritance. The people served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and of the elders who outlived him and who had seen all the great things the Lord had done for Israel. Joshua, son of Nun. Uy, balikan ko pala yung ancestor ni Jesus Christ. Nakahilera siya sa excuse me, yung chapter 3 ng yung ancestor niya. Nakahilera siya sa nawala na. Ayun guys, dito nakalagay Joshua, son of Nun. Pero dito naman, may nakalagay din Joshua, the son of Eleazar. So, magkaiba siya. Tapos dito naman, binalikan ko yan kasi mali-mali ako ng comments kahapon. Tapos, naka-align pala si Jesus kay Judah. Kasi diba 13 yung anak ni Israel, 13 yung anak ni Jacob. So, yung isang anak doon, Judah. Si Jesus Christ, dito siya naka-align kay Judah. The son of Jacob, the son of Isaac, the son of Abraham. So, yan, maliwanag na sa akin. So, iba yung Joshua dito sa align ni Jesus. Ang dami kasi magkaparehong pangalan. So, dito na tayo. Balik ulit tayo. Balik ulit tayo sa chapter 2. Sa verse 8. Joshua, son of Nun, niliwanag ko lang na magkaiba yung Joshua na nakalain doon si Jesus. So, doon sa ancestors niya. Kaysa Joshua dito sa Old Testament. Kasi yun, anak ni Eleazar. Ito naman, anak ni Nen. Tapos, ang alam ko, yung Eleazar, ang tatay niya, yung priest, ang tatay niya is si Aaron. So, ibang hilera, ibang, magkakamag-anak sila, pero ibang angkan si Jesus. Doon siya nakahilera kay Judah. Ayun, maliwanag na. At talagang tradition family tree. After Joshua, so dito tayo sa verse 8. Joshua son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110, and they buried him in the land of his inheritance, at Timnath Heres in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gaash. After the whole generation had been gathered to their fathers, another generation grew up, who knew neither the Lord nor what he had done for Israel. Then the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord and served the Baals. They forsook the Lord. Oh, sabi na sa inyo nawala na yung mga leaders nila from Moses tapos si Judah. Ba't hindi kasi nag-assign si Judah ng next, kitang-kita doon sa ko. Hindi nangangalay na kasi tayo. Ba't kasi hindi nag-assign si Joshua ng kapalit sa kanya? Pero dapat yung mga Levites, di ba? Sila yung doon Sila yung nakatuko sila yung mga pare, di ba, ng araw. So, dapat pinagpatuloy nila yun. After sa verse 10, after the whole generation had been gathered to their fathers, another generation grew up, who knew neither the Lord nor what he had done for Israel. Then the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. So, ibig sabihin, itong Bible, hindi ito sinulat after mamatay si Joshua. Kasi nakalimutan na ng Israel yung ginawa, Samantalang tayo, binabalik-balikan natin yung Bible. Then the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord and served the Baals. They forsook the Lord, the God of their fathers, who had brought them out of Egypt. They followed and worshipped various gods of the peoples around them. They provoked the Lord to anger, because they forsook him and served Baal and the Ashtoreths. In his anger against Israel, the Lord handed them over to raiders, who plundered them. He sold them to their enemies all around whom they were no longer able to resist. Whenever Israel went out to fight, the hand of the Lord was against them to defeat them. Just as he had sworn to them, they were in great distress. Then the Lord raised up judges, who saved them out of the hands of these raiders. Yet they would not listen to their judges, but prostituted themselves to the gods and worshipped them. Unlike their fathers, they quickly turned from the way in which their fathers had walked, the way of obedience to the Lord's commands. Whenever the Lord raised up a judge for them, he was with the judge and saved them out of the hands of their enemies. As long as the judge lived, for the Lord had compassion on them as they groaned under those who oppressed and afflicted them. But when the judge died, the people returned to ways even more corrupt than those of their fathers, following other gods and serving and worshipping them. They refused to give up their evil practices and stubborn ways. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel and said, because this nation has violated the covenant that I laid down for their forefathers and has not listened to me, I will no longer drive out before them any of the nations Joshua left when he died. I will use them to test Israel and see whether they will keep the way of the Lord and walk in, as their forefathers did. The Lord had allowed those nations to remain. He did not drive them out at once by giving them into the hands of Joshua. Ganon talaga. Kung ako yung babawiin ko yung lupa. Sorry, comments lang din ulit yun. Reaction lang ulit yun. Kasi kawawa naman yung mga inagawan nila. These are the nations the Lord left to test all those Israelites who had not experienced any of the wars in Canaan. He did this only to teach warfare to the descendants of the Israelites who had not had previous battle experience. The five rulers of the Philistines, all the Canaanites, the Sidonians, and the Hivites living in the Lebanon mountains from Mount Baal Hermon to Lebo Hamath. They were left to test the Israelites to see whether they would obey the Lord's commands, which he had given their forefathers through Moses. The Israelites lived among the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. They took their daughters in marriage and gave their own daughters to their sons and served their gods. Tignan mo lang yun guys, oh. Sila-sila nag-aasawahan. Okay, dito na tayo sa verse 7. Ang dami kasing mga nakasingit-singit guys, mga header sa footnotes. Kaya ang hirap, hanapin yung sundan yung verses. First period, Othniel. Verse 7. The Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. They forgot the Lord their God, and served the Baals and the Asherahs. The anger of the Lord burned against Israel, so that he sold them into the hands of Cushan Rishathaim, king of Aram Naharaim, to whom the Israelites were subject for 8 years. Yun, nasakop sila ng 8 years. But when they cried out to the Lord, he raised up for them and delivered Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, who saved them. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him, so that he became Israel's judge, and went to war. The Lord gave Cushan Rishathaim. Wait ulit. Painom. And went to war. The Lord gave Cushan Rishathaim, king of Aram, into the hands of Othniel, who overpowered him. So the land had peace for 40 years until Othniel, son of Kenaz, died. So, nagkaroon ng kapayapaan ng 40 years. At least mahaba-haba. The second period, Ehud and Shamgar. Ehud, nasa verse 12 na tayo, guys. Ang kate. Bilis na, mag-work na tayo. Ang bagal ko talaga magbasa. Once again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and because they did this evil, the Lord gave Eglon, king of Moab, power over Israel, getting the Ammonites and Amalekites to join him. Eglon came and attacked Israel, and they took possession of the city of palms. The Israelites were subject to Eglon, king of Moab, for 18 years. Again, the Israelites cried out to the Lord, and he gave them the deliverer Ehud, a left-handed man, the son of Gera, the Benjamite. The Israelites sent him with tribute to Eglon, king of Moab. Now Ehud had made a double-edged sword about a foot and a half long, with it strapped to his right thigh under his clothing. He presented the tribute of Eglon, king of Moab, who was a very fat man. After Ehud had presented the tribute, they sent on their way the men who had carried it. At the idol's Nergal call, he himself turned back and said, I have a secret message for you, O king. The king stayed quiet, and all his attendants left him. Ehud then approached him while he was sitting alone in the upper room of his summer palace, and said, I have a message from God for you. As the king rose from his seat, Ehud reached with his left hand, drew the sword from his right thigh, and flung into the king's belly. Even the handle sank after the blade, which came out his back. Ehud did not pull the sword out, and the fat closed in over it. Oh, imagine nyo na lang guys kung paano pinatay yung hari. Ang haba ng sword niya. tagos hanggang likod. Close in over it. Then Ehud went out to the porch. He shut the doors of the upper room behind him and locked them. After he had gone, the servants came and found the doors of the upper room locked. They said he must be relieving himself. In the inner room of the house, they waited to the point of embarrassment, but when he did not open the doors of the room, they took a key and unlocked them. There they saw their lord fall into the floor dead. While they waited, Ehud got away. He passed by the idols and escaped to Serah. When he arrived there, he blew trumpet in the hill country of Ephraim, and the Israelites went down with him from the house with him, leading them. Follow me, he ordered, say Ehud. Follow me, he ordered, for the Lord has given Moab your enemy into your hands. So they followed him down, and taking possession of the fords of the Jordan that lead to Moab, they allowed no one to cross over. At the time they struck down about 10,000 Moabites, all vigorous and strong, not a man escaped. That time Moab was made subject to Israel, and the land had peace for 80 years. Oh, mahaba-haba na guys. Dati 40 years lang, ngayon 80 years. Shamgar. After Ehud came, wala lang. Inaano ko lang kasi nagsisync sa akin yung kung mga ilang years. Ngayon kaya, magkaroon na kaya ng tunay na kapayapaan sa Israel? Tanong lang ulit yan. Shamgar. After Ehud came Shamgar, son of Anath, who struck down 600 Philistines with an oxgoad. He to save Israel. Ayun, after kay Ehud, mayroon na namang Shamgar. So hanggang dyan lang tayo guys. 1, 2, 3. Bye everyone. God bless.